Hello guys and welcome to another video. My name is Mark, I'm an entrepreneur and property investor. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how you can get involved with property investing with as little as £10,000. Now this video is really aimed for people who are trying to start their journey. And I'm going to call back on some of my past mistakes, as well as some strategies that are out there now and far more popular than when I started, for example, rent to rent. And I'm going to go through all of the pros and cons for all of them. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you how I started and what I think is probably the best way to start with £10,000. So stay tuned all through this video. Hopefully it'll be very informational. And if you want some information on this video, if you look in the description, you'll be able to find my free ebook, How to Invest in Property, and you'll be able to find some information in terms of booking a free one-to-one call with me until I get to 10,000 subscribers. Anybody can book one and we can connect via Zoom whenever you would like. And on top of that, I'm also going to be releasing a free course on how to get involved in property investing. And the reason I'm doing that, not on YouTube, is because the videos can be far longer. I can stand with a whiteboard and I know that I don't have to appease the algorithm by doing sort of 8 to 10 minute videos. So I'm going to be able to go into far more detail. It's going to be completely free of charge. I found a host that will allow me to do it completely free of charge for you. So you'll be able to subscribe to that. Again, all these links in the description, and if you haven't already, obviously subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, helps me out. Thank you so much. Right, let's get into the video. Let's talk about why we want to get involved in property investing first of all. Now, the first reason I think everybody should get involved in property investing in particular is capital appreciation and monthly cash flow. Now, those are the two things that I think most people think of when it comes to property investing. So if you buy a property, over time, it goes up in value. That's what we call capital appreciation. Buy it for 100,000, then worth 200,000 15 years later, you've made the difference. Cash flow is the monthly difference or the return on investment that you get every single month paid into your bank account. Now, as mortgage rates have gone up, for a lot of people, cash flow in property investing has come down. However, rental returns have now gone up in line with those mortgages, so returns are returning. And on top of that, we are predicting the Bank of England to start cutting rates. And indeed, they have started cutting rates, but much more in 2025. So today, and right now, might be a fantastic time to be getting involved in property investing. Now, the third reason, something that not many people talk about, is leverage and the value of debt decreasing over time. Now, let me explain that to you very simply. Property is one of those asset classes where it's very easy to apply leverage. You can buy as a first-time buyer with a 10% mortgage and apply 10 times leverage. For example, you could buy a £100,000 property with £10,000. So in that instance, if we apply the capital appreciation game and that property value doubles over the next 10 to 15 years, which is the historic average, then over that period of time, you'd have 10x'd that £10,000 investment. Now that's the reasons that I think you should get involved. Number one, capital appreciation. Number two, cash flow. Number three, I think certainly leverage. And inflation works in your favor on the debt, i.e. decreasing the value of the debt over time, and works in your favor on capital and on rental income. So it works in your favor in two directions and it works in your favor in a third direction. So that's the reasons I love property investing, and I think that everybody should be involved in this category of investment. Now let's start with the first thing that I'm going to talk about on this, which is rent to rent. Rent to rent is simple. You secure a property on the open market with a landlord. You then aim to get as much return out of that property as you possibly can by changing the use of the property. Now that might be to turn it into a HMO, i.e. we rent out a 3 or 4 bedroom house. We have the permission of the landlord to put a bedroom in the living room to get a HMO license, whatever's required to turn that in. We may have negotiated some great terms with that landlord in order to make sure it's on a long-term lease with us. We then have the opportunity to be able to add the value and rent it out on a room-by-room basis. People also do this with serviced accommodation, so turning it into an Airbnb, Booking.com, holiday let in city centres. You've got to check permissions, obviously, and there's a whole load of things I could do to talk about rent to rent. But I want to just give you that as an overview of the strategy. It's taking something that somebody else owns. That's why you can do it with so little money, right? Like at the end of the day, with £10,000, you could be renting a property that's maybe £3,000 or £4,000 a month in rent, and it's probably worth close to £800,000 or £1 million as a total value. So you can really get leverage on it. But here's the cons. You're not going to benefit from the capital appreciation. You're just going to be able to try and gain that cash flow. Now, I've seen it done really, really well, and I've seen it go very, very badly. So I personally have not been involved in the rent-to-rent scene. I know lots of people who have, and as I said, I've seen lots of people who make money. I've seen lots of people lose money. I think it really is down to making sure that you have the best possible deal you can have, good rent-free period so that you can get it set up, a good negotiation with your landlord that understands everything, making sure that you're clear and honest about what you're going to be doing, and then making sure that you've done your research in terms of, is there the demand for it to be a HMO, or is there the demand for it to become a holiday let? So as long as you tick all those boxes off and you're commercial about it, those are the times where I've seen it done well. And scalable, because it's low capital injection. The second thing I'm going to talk about is joint venturing. So if you've only got £10,000, maybe you can't do something by yourself. Maybe that first property, we're still buying properties up in Sheffield and areas up the north where we're paying £100,000 to buy a property. So maybe your 10,000 isn't quite enough and you need 25,000, something like that. Do a joint venture with someone. Get involved in somebody else who shares the same vision. And it is so, so important that you share the same vision. The times where I've seen this go badly is the times when people are not on the same journey. If you're both on the same journey, if you both share the same vision, if you both share the same goals, then there's no reason that joint ventures can't go really, really well. In fact, my biggest business is with one of my best friends. And we've built that from sort of 400k turnover to nearly 6 million off the back of the fact that we have such a great friendship and we have exactly the same vision for the business. And sometimes we differ on where we're going or how we're doing things, but those conversations are always coming from the right place. And that is so, so important with joint venturing. As soon as you're going to get into bed with someone, make sure they share your vision. So now I'm going to get onto the third way to get involved in property with £10,000. And this is the one that I did. And I'm going to explain a little bit about my journey. I'm probably going to use, in fact, I am going to use my example as the way that I think it should be done. When I was buying my first property, I bought in a town called Erith, which if you look on the UK map is just outside London. I think it's zone 4. So it's zone 4 of London, maybe 5, but it's on the outskirts. Now, at the time, I could have bought a studio in Canada Water, which is where I was working, or a 3-bedroom house in Erith. And I chose to buy a 3-bedroom house in Erith because it allowed me to rent out the 2 spare bedrooms. So we suddenly had this liability of a mortgage. We put down £17,500 as a deposit. The property was £176,000. I don't mind giving you all the details, in fact. You can look it up, it's on Durian Way, 3-bedroom house, and we rented out the 2 spare rooms. Now, we rented them out at the time, I think one was 600, one was 500, so it was about £1,100 a month. Our mortgage payment, I remember well, was £800 a month, and our utilities bills, all that sort of stuff, were probably another £300, £400 a month. So we essentially were able to live there rent-free, or mortgage-free, or cost-free, if you like. And that allowed us to expedite the saving for our next property. Now, I think this is the way that a lot of people, certainly young professionals, young couples, for us, when we moved into this property, it was our very first property. So for a lot of people, that might be a motive and they might want to just make sure it's all theirs. But if you can delay that gratification for a little bit, and if you can rent out those 2 spare bedrooms, well, that made a huge difference to my journey. It meant that over the course of the next 3 or 4 years, in fact, I think we stayed there 5 years. Over that 5 years, we essentially saved an additional £70,000, something in that region. Now, that's a huge amount when you're then going to deploy it and you've only put down £17,500 as a deposit. Also during that time, the property went from being £176,000 in 2010 over the next 5 years to being worth about £270,000. And today, it's probably closer to £400,000. That's the capital appreciation side of things. The debt at the time, £155,000. We've remortgaged since. I think the debt currently stands at about £220,000. But again, that £220,000 as a nominal figure has stayed the same over the last 5-6 years, but we know we've had 30% inflation. We know rents have gone up. My rent on that property has gone from £1,100 to nearly £2,000 a month. So all of these things are working in your favour, and it all started by being able to delay that gratification of being the only person in that property. Now for us, at the time we did this, it was no hardship. We were already living in shared accommodation. So paying £700 a month and sharing, or paying zero owning an asset and sharing, well, I know which one I would choose. The question is whether you would choose that. But that was my journey, and I think it's been phrased now as house hacking, but I think that is probably the best way to do it. I think the other way you can do it is if you're renting somewhere, and this is something that you could probably do if you spoke to your landlord. You could probably rent out a spare room in your rental property. So let's say, for example, you've got a 3-bedroom house or a 2-bedroom house, you live there, just you and your partner. Maybe you could rent out a spare bedroom and suddenly your rent's halved. Again, all of these tricks to bring money in through this asset, even if that asset is a liability on paper, i.e. rent. I think all of those things make a massive difference to your financial journey, and it makes you think about things differently. So this is what I would do with £10,000 personally if I was starting out. I don't know what mortgages are available. If I could get 5%, I can leverage up to 200 grand. If I can only get 10% mortgage, then 100 grand would be my budget. And if it meant that I had to buy in a different area of the country and potentially move jobs, if I wasn't earning too much, let's say for example, I was only on 20 grand a year, 25 grand a year, 30 grand a year, could I find a job in a different part of the country which would allow me to expedite my journey? I would look at all of those options. But guys, that's what I did. That's what really started off my journey. And today I've got £3 million worth of property. And honestly, I haven't put too much money from my business into property. Mostly it's been recycling, debt, all that sort of good stuff that has allowed me to grow that. So guys, I hope this video has been good for you. Again, if you look in the description, free call with me, free ebook, free course coming up. You'll be able to apply to all of those things. And guys, I hope you liked the video. Subscribe and give it a big thumbs up, give it a big like. It really does help me out. And I'll see you on the next one. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. See you soon. Good video that. Good video that.